Jake speaks directly to the camera, casual but introspective. I've always believed in hard work. I was raised on the idea that if you put your head down, focus, and keep pushing forward, success would come. It didn't matter what you had to sacrifice along the way, just keep moving, keep achieving. That was my mantra. The more I worked, the better I'd be. The more I achieved, the happier I'd be. Right? But the truth is, I was wrong. And I didn't realize it until much later. When I was younger, I had these big dreams. I wanted to be successful, really successful. Not just financially, but respected. I wanted to climb the ladder, make a name for myself. I thought that if I could get to the top, everything would fall into place. But along the way, something started to feel off. I was always chasing the next big thing, thinking success was the key to happiness. Here's the catch. I had no idea how much I was losing in the process. I was so consumed by my career that I neglected the things that really mattered. And what scared me the most? The deeper I went into my work, the more I felt isolated. I thought maybe if I just pushed harder, things would be better. But there was this voice in the back of my head that kept telling me something wasn't right. That no matter how much money I made, how many promotions I got, there was something bigger I was missing. I didn't know it yet. But I was afraid. Afraid of being alone, afraid of failing in life, not just in my career. But I pushed it aside. I told myself, I'm doing this for the future. I'm doing this for us. I didn't realize that by us, I wasn't really talking about anyone but myself. Jake smiles warmly, leaning forward as if reminiscing, then came Sam. I didn't expect it. Honestly, I wasn't looking for anything serious at the time. I was too caught up in my own world, just focused on work and career. But when I met her, everything shifted. Sam was different. She was calm, grounded, and honestly, she made me feel like everything would be okay, like I could take a breath. She was everything I wasn't. While I was racing through life, constantly moving, Sam had this peaceful, centered energy about her. It wasn't that she didn't work hard, she did, but she knew how to live in the present. She didn't chase the next big thing in the way I did. And that was something I found so captivating. When we first started dating, it felt easy. It felt right. She was supportive of my ambitions, and I admired her for the balance she seemed to have in her life. We'd talk about everything and nothing for hours. She'd tell me about her dreams, her past, her thoughts on life, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like someone really saw me, not just as a career machine, but as a person. I thought, this is it. This is what I needed. Someone like Sam to show me that balance. I thought if I just kept working hard, kept achieving, that somehow we'd make it work. Because I thought Sam understood. She was supportive. She saw the bigger picture, right? She understood that this was all for us. For our future. At the time, I thought that was enough. I thought as long as I kept being successful, everything else would just fall into place. But things aren't that simple, are they? Jake's voice becomes more serious, with a hint of regret. As things with Sam progressed, I started to notice a shift. It wasn't immediate, but over time, I could see that she was becoming more distant. At first, I thought it was just me being paranoid. After all, we were both busy people. She had her own life, and I had mine. But it didn't take long before I started to feel something I hadn't felt before: tension. We started having these little arguments. The kind where she'd say things like, "You're never really here, Jake. You're always working. I need you with me, not just your attention in passing." And I'd get defensive. I'd say things like, "I'm doing this for us. I'm building our future." But to be honest, it didn't seem to register with her, and I didn't get it. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought that all the hours I was putting in, working late, taking on more projects, climbing higher, would eventually make everything better. But instead of understanding me, instead of seeing how hard I was trying, she pulled away. It wasn't just about the time we spent together anymore. It was about my presence. She needed me to be present, not just physically, but emotionally. She wanted more than just my attention when it was convenient for me. She wanted to feel valued, to feel that I was there with her, not just somewhere else, always thinking about the next big deal or the next career milestone. The worst part was, I didn't know how to change. I didn't know how to be there for her in the way she needed. All I could think about was work. And slowly, I began to feel something else, guilt. I didn't want to admit it to myself, but deep down I knew I was letting her down. I was missing the point. I was so wrapped up in this idea of success that I didn't see I was losing the one thing that mattered most, my connection with Sam. Jake's tone becomes more somber, reflecting on the painful moment. I'll never forget the day Sam finally said she couldn't do it anymore. We were sitting in the living room, just like any other evening. But that night was different. She looked at me, her eyes soft but serious, and said, "Jake, I can't keep doing this. I need more than what you're giving me. I need you to be here. With me. Not just for work, for your career. I need you to show up for us." And I didn't know how to respond. I remember my heart sinking in my chest. I kept thinking, this can't be happening. This isn't how it's supposed to go. But the truth is, I had been so focused on building my career, so obsessed with success, that I didn't realize how far I had pushed her away. She said, "I love you, Jake. But I can't wait around for you to figure this out. I need to live my life too, and I can't do that while you're always somewhere else." I remember thinking, maybe she just needs time, maybe she doesn't understand that I'm doing all this for us. But deep down I knew that she had given me everything she had, and I had failed to give her what she needed in return. I didn't know how to show up for her, to meet her halfway. And now, here she was, telling me she was done. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even resentful. She was just exhausted. And I felt this deep, heavy weight settle over me. For the first time, I truly saw what I had lost. It wasn't just a relationship slipping away. It was a person I loved, someone who had been there for me, who believed in me even when I couldn't see it myself. But I had been too blind to see it. It wasn't about the work. It wasn't about the career. It was about me, not being there for her, not being present, not being the partner she needed. And that realization hit me harder than anything else. I lost her. And it was my fault. I thought work would fill the void. I thought I could drown out the loneliness, the guilt, the regret, with more achievements. But the truth is, it just made it worse. The more successful I became, the more isolated I felt. I'd come home to an empty apartment, eat dinner by myself, go to bed alone. And I kept telling myself, this is fine. This is how it's supposed to be. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I wasn't living. I was just surviving. I wasn't emotionally connected to anything anymore, not even myself. All I had was my career. And that wasn't enough. I missed Sam. I missed her laugh. I missed her calm presence. I missed the way she would sit next to me and just be there. I couldn't believe that I'd let it all slip away. That I'd let something so important, so precious, fall apart because I was too focused on everything else. The worst part? I had no idea how to fix it. I kept burying myself in work, trying to outrun the loneliness, but it was always there, lingering in the back of my mind. And I couldn't ignore it any longer. I was lost. Completely lost. I thought work would fill the void. I thought I could drown out the loneliness, the guilt, the regret, with more achievements. But the truth is, it just made it worse. The more successful I became, the more isolated I felt. I'd come home to an empty apartment, eat dinner by myself, go to bed alone. And I kept telling myself, this is fine. This is how it's supposed to be. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I wasn't living. I was just surviving. I wasn't emotionally connected to anything anymore, not even myself. All I had was my career. And that wasn't enough. I missed Sam. I missed her laugh. I missed her calm presence. I missed the way she would sit next to me and just be there. I couldn't believe that I'd let it all slip away. That I'd let something so important, so precious, fall apart because I was too focused on everything else. The worst part? I had no idea how to fix it. I kept burying myself in work, trying to outrun the loneliness, but it was always there, lingering in the back of my mind. And I couldn't ignore it any longer. I was lost. Completely lost. Then, one evening, out of the blue, my phone rang. It was Sam. I didn't know what to expect. It had been months since we'd last spoken. I had been doing my best to move on, convincing myself that I didn't need her, that I could figure things out on my own. But when I saw her name on the screen, a part of me froze. I almost didn't answer. Part of me thought, what's the point? But something in me said, just pick up the phone. So I did. Hey Jake. How have you been? She asked, her voice calm and warm, like no time had passed. I didn't know how to respond at first. I wasn't sure if this was just some kind of casual check-in or if she was trying to reopen old wounds. But we talked. For hours. We talked about everything. How life had been for her since the breakup, how work had been for me, the random things that had happened in the months we hadn't spoken. And somewhere in that conversation, I realized something that hit me like a ton of bricks. Sam had changed. And it wasn't the way I thought she would. She wasn't angry anymore or bitter. She wasn't trying to blame me for everything that had gone wrong. She was at peace. She told me that after we broke up, she'd taken some time to focus on herself. She wasn't in a relationship anymore, and she decided to quit her job for a while to travel. To find herself. It was like she had rediscovered her joy. She wasn't chasing success in the same way I had been. She was chasing a life she could actually enjoy. And when I listened to her, I felt this wave of regret wash over me. I had been so consumed with doing that I had missed out on the most important part of life, living. Sam wasn't just surviving, she was thriving in her own way, finding meaning and fulfillment in places I had never even considered. And that's when I realized I had been living my life wrong. I had been so focused on success, on career, on status, that I had forgotten what it meant to be truly connected to someone, and to myself. The call ended, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a strange sense of peace. Maybe it was because Sam had found her peace. Maybe it was because I was beginning to understand something I hadn't before. But in that conversation, something had shifted in me. Jake speaks with a tone of self-awareness and a touch of humility. After that call, I couldn't stop thinking about what Sam had said. I kept replaying our conversation over and over in my mind. She had changed, found her own peace, while I was still stuck in this loop of working, achieving, and running from everything that truly mattered. I couldn't help but feel this deep sense of regret for the way I had handled things. I knew I had to change. I couldn't keep living this way, so I took a step back. For the first time in years, I gave myself permission to slow down. I took a few days off work, cleared my schedule, and just listened. Listened to my own thoughts, my own feelings. I spent time reflecting on what Sam had said, on how I had let my obsession with success cloud everything around me. The thing I realized was this: I had been chasing a version of success that wasn't mine to chase. I was living my life according to some idea of what I should be, rather than what I truly wanted. I was stuck in a cycle of doing, but never being. I was checking off boxes, but none of them were boxes that I actually cared about. I thought about what I truly wanted in life. What did success even mean to me, now that I could see how it had cost me? I realized that I wanted balance. I didn't want to abandon my career, far from it. I was proud of what I had accomplished. But I needed to stop making my work the center of everything. I also realized something else. What I really wanted was to be present. To be present for myself. To be present for the people I care about. And I didn't just want to be present when it was convenient for me. I wanted to show up fully. For my own life, for my family, for my friends, and yes, maybe for Sam too. It took time, but I started making small changes. I reconnected with old friends. Spent more time with family, and started enjoying the little things I had been ignoring for so long. I also started setting boundaries at work. It wasn't easy, But I learned how to say no, how to prioritize things that actually mattered, and that's when I started to feel different. I started to feel whole. Jake speaks with a calm, assured tone, reflecting on the lessons he's learned. As time passed, I started to realize something important about love. It wasn't about sacrifice. It wasn't about giving up what I cared about to make someone else happy. It was about balance. It was about knowing when to lean in and when to lean back. And it was about being present, truly present, not just when it was easy, but when it mattered most. I had been so focused on doing and achieving that I didn't realize I was missing the most important part of life: connection. Real love isn't about giving someone all of your time, but it's about giving them quality time. It's about showing up, not just physically, but emotionally. And it's about understanding that your own happiness doesn't come from doing more. It comes from being true to yourself and the people you love. Sam had taught me that. Even though we weren't together anymore, her influence on me was undeniable. She had shown me what true balance looked like, how to live a life that wasn't just about ambition, but about connection, fulfillment, and peace. And though we were no longer a couple, I knew now how to love myself first. Because when you love yourself, when you're truly at peace with who you are, that's when you can show up as a better partner, a better friend, and a better person in every area of your life. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't going to pretend I had it all figured out. But I knew I had found something more important than career achievements or accolades. I had found peace with myself. I had learned how to live in the moment and how to prioritize what really mattered. I had learned how to love without losing myself in the process. And maybe that's the real lesson I needed to learn. Love isn't about giving up or sacrificing parts of yourself. It's about knowing who you are and what you need, and having the courage to stand by that, whether you're in a relationship or not. I also learned that sometimes we need to lose something before we can truly appreciate what we had. Losing Sam was painful, yes. But it was also the wake-up call I needed to get my life back on track. And who knows? Maybe someday, our paths will cross again. Maybe we'll find our way back to each other. But if we don't, that's okay too. Because I've learned to love myself first, and that's the foundation for anything that comes next. Looking back now, I can see how much I've changed. The person I was before, driven by success, always chasing the next milestone, thinking that the more I achieved, the happier I'd be, that person feels so far away. And honestly, I'm glad he's gone. The truth is, I'm not the same person I was when I first met Sam. I've learned so much about myself, about life, and about love. I've learned that love isn't a transaction. It's not about what you can give up for someone or how much you're willing to sacrifice. Love is about showing up for each other, truly showing up, no matter what's going on in your life. It's about balance, not extremes. It's about being willing to grow together, to support one another, and to find joy in the little things. Do I regret how things went with Sam? Of course. I wish I had been more present, more emotionally available when she needed me. But I also understand now that it wasn't just a relationship I lost. It was an opportunity to learn something deeply important about myself. And that, in the end, was the real gift. I'm not saying I have it all figured out. I'm not saying I've mastered the art of balance, or that I'll never slip into old habits. But I do know this: I've learned to love in a way that is healthier, more balanced, and more true to who I am. I've learned to take care of myself, because I know now that I can't give my best to anyone if I'm not taking care of myself first. Maybe Sam and I will cross paths again. Maybe we'll both find our way back to each other. But whether or not that happens, I've made peace with it. I've learned that life is about being present, being real, and knowing that no matter where we are or what happens, the most important relationship we have is with ourselves. And when we're at peace with ourselves, we're capable of loving others better too. This whole journey, losing Sam, realizing my mistakes, learning how to balance my life, has shown me that love isn't a destination. It's a process. And I'm still in that process. But now I'm walking it with my eyes wide open. If you're in a similar place, if you're chasing success or feeling like something's missing, take a moment to slow down. Take a step back. Look at the things that matter most, your relationships, your own well being, and ask yourself, am I truly present? Am I balancing my life in a way that allows me to thrive in all areas? Because the truth is, life is a lot shorter than we think. Don't wait until it's too late to figure out what truly matters.